Hi everyone and welcome to Open Mic with Niki. I'm Niki Coleridge and in today's show I'm here with Sam Templeton, who is a senior finance major here at Bellarmine University. And in today's show you'll get the chance to get to know Sam a little bit better, and you'll also have the chance to know more about the finance program here at Bellarmine. And specifically we will be talking about the early entry master's program that Sam is in right now, and he will tell us all the details about it. So first of all, thank you so much for being here, Sam. And let's start with a little introduction. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself, about what year you're in, how the finance major here is like at Bellarmine?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nikki. So I am a finance major, as you know, and you said it's my senior year, and as you mentioned, I'm in the the early entry MBA. So what that is, it starts the beginning of your senior year. You start graduate school, and the MBA is normally a 2-year program. So your first year is really your first year of your MBA program is really in the last year of your undergrad program. And then you have another year after that, and it's typically online, so it works well if you're working full time, which is a lot of people do, especially when they're in the MBA. Their second year, they're actively working. Usually in Louisville, most of the students are in Louisville, so it works well with my schedule.
That's awesome. And so going back to your undergraduate degree for a little bit, so you're in finance. Was that your first choice when you came here to Bellarmine a few years ago, or did you want to do something else at first?
That's a good question. So when I first came to Bellarmine, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I liked working out. I played sports in high school, so I was looking around at different colleges, and I saw that they had a good physical therapy program. So I'm a little freshman. I didn't know what I was doing. So I signed up for the LEAT program here, which is the Launch into Early Assurance. And so that's a 3 plus 3 program. So you have your doctorate in physical therapy in 6 years as opposed to 7. So that piqued my interest. I started that, and I get through the first semester my freshman year, and I'm going through these anatomy classes, and I had an 8 a.m. And that 8 a.m., not going to say the professor, but we didn't really get along. I didn't really like the class dynamic, and I realized, I like numbers more. I like patterns. So I was like, okay, well, where can I merge? What different programs? So I ended up becoming a dual major. So I was a pre-physical therapy major, and then I also had a business administration major. And so I did that for a year, and I did some research, and I realized that the finance majors usually made more money than the business administration majors. And I think more analytically and more in patterns. So I enjoyed that, so I ended up eventually just dropping all programs and then going directly with finance.
Okay, that's an interesting story. So speaking about your finance classes a little bit more, what would you say are some really good finance classes here at Bellarmine that you think will be very beneficial for you in the future, for what you want to do? What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's subjective from person to person. So, there's accountants, so obviously they're going to want to take more accounting classes. For me, I want to get into wealth management, maybe investment banking, maybe private equity. So one class that really, or classes I should say, that really benefited me was more of a focus on economics. So economics and finance classes, less heavy on the accounting. I'm not going to use accounting. I can't sit behind a computer my whole life, just can't do that. But as far as what's tailored towards what I really want to do, which is probably going to be wealth management, I would say more of the macroeconomics courses.
Okay. And now that you're in your early MBA program, what do you think is the biggest difference between your undergraduate classes in finance and then the master's degree now? First of all, what is your master's degree in to start with?
Yeah, so it's the master's in business administration, and I have a focus on applied analytics within my MBA. And there is big differences. I'd say the biggest difference is it's more of a Socratic frame of going about class. So what that means is instead of just a teacher lecturing you, which is very typical with undergraduate courses, which is fine, and a lot of people learn from that, the MBA really focuses on, you're talking with your professor, you're having a conversation with your professor, with your colleagues. I have colleagues that are working full-time in the finance industry, full-time in the ballet industry, full-time in the food industry. And you can learn so much just from talking to these different people that are typically older and they've gone through the experiences and, they have that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what would you say were the biggest challenges? Was there a lot of stress with maybe a lot of different commitments at the same time, your undergraduate classes and your graduate classes? So how does it work? How do you schedule your typical day?
Well, I work too, and as you know, I do different various, very probably atypical in this regard, but I have various, odd jobs outside of campus. So I'm working at Morgan Stanley part-time, and then I facilitate a few different nonprofits.
Awesome.
In Louisville. So for the average student, they have a little more time than I do. But still, even with that being said, it hasn't been that stressful. There's plenty of time, to have fun. I'm playing tennis after this, as you know. So that's going to be fun. And the night classes, they're online, so you can really be anywhere. I can take a trip to North Carolina and still have my MBA class. But now I can't because I have in-person classes my senior year. But next year I can really go all across America and still do my MBA classes. So they're very, very easy with your schedule.
That's awesome. So for other Bellarmine students that might be interested in that dual program, would you say you would definitely recommend it with the time commitment? Is it very easy to combine those 2 degrees at the same time?
Yeah, it is easy to combine those at the same time, but it really varies from person to person.
Okay.
What do you really value in life? You have to figure out why you're actually getting the MBA program, you're actually getting the degree. A lot of people get the degree just because they don't know what they want to do in life. Mm-hmm. So they just, okay, give me an extra year or 2 years. What can I do? Well, I can go to grad school and I can, delay actually picking a path of what I'm going to do in life. And that's fine. And that's totally fine.
So how was it for you? Why did you choose the dual program with the MBA? Why did you want to start with your MBA early?
Mm-hmm. Well, my professors really tried to push me to go that direction, specifically Dr. Karimi, Dr. Fairfield, Dean Bruce, Dr. Pasmino. They all went to me separately on multiple different occasions, actually, and was like, Sam, you should really do this MBA program. And they invited me to early luncheons, I guess you would call them, or dinner-ons. So I had dinners and I had some different lunches with the previous MBA students.
Interesting. Starting
in my second semester of freshman year, and I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed the professors. They were really trying to push me to go that route. But also, it's the fact that I'm going to have a master's 1 year earlier than my other colleagues, which is really nice. And that's both time, that's money, because I'm not paying any extra money for my first year of grad school.
Definitely. And then would you also say that looking back at your whole time at Bellarmine, what would you say were some really impactful people over your whole time that really impacted you? Or maybe not just the people here, the professors, but also some classes that you really think are going to make an impact in your career, maybe in Morgan Stanley if you continue that route, or in your general job field?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's going to be, you're not going to expect this, but the most impactful class that I've had at Bellarmine has probably been history, actually. I took an old history class, and we started in the year 1450 and then went on up from there throughout history. And that opened, I was able to visualize a much broader scope. And actually, when you combine history with economics and finance, and you can see all these cyclical things that happen in nature. Every 80 years, there's typically some kind of economic collapse or depression or recession, whatever you want to call it. But just knowing your general history, and then you can match that with your economics courses or with some MBA courses that specialize in this, and you can find cycles in there. And it's the cycles are where you make money. I know we were at a meeting earlier today, and we were saying, okay, we're in a very bullish cycle right now. So looking back from all the way back to 1920 using history, we're able to say, okay, we're in a very bullish environment, meaning the economy is probably going to go up in 2026, meaning you should be more, focused on certain equities. Yeah. So, history has been the best and most impactful course so far.
That's really interesting. So what are your plans right now? You're graduating this May, and then you have 1 more year of MBA left. But what are your plans? What are you planning to do after May?
Well, I don't know. Well, I do know. I have a general, gist of what I'm going to do. but I don't want to know what exactly I'm doing right now. There's freedom in knowing, and there's freedom in knowing that you don't have to be, put in one exact job field yet. So I like being able to pivot. I like the fact that I'm not able to give you a clear answer right now, because I can still pivot. Like Luke, I could become an airline pilot, I don't know. Or I could, do private equity, wealth management. I could totally flip industries, and that's fine. But what will probably more than likely end up is I'll work at Morgan Stanley, where I'm currently working, for a few years, and then using some skills I learned from the MBA, I'll probably go on more of an entrepreneurial journey and try to start my own company, probably within finance, and then maybe help out different nonprofits using the weapons that Bellarmine has equipped me with.
That's awesome. And do you think, you just mentioned the weapons that Bellarmine has equipped you with, do you think already in that short time that you were in your MBA now, do you think you've used some of the skills that you learned in those classes in real life?
I have. One of the biggest things that Bellarmine will actually equip you with is networking.
Yes.
There's a lot of sayings, your net worth is your network is your net worth, or you're some of the 5 friends you hang around, and there's great quality of friends here. Or one of the big ones is connections will monetize forever, whereas money only monetizes once. So it's really the people that I've met here that have been able to hook me up. Okay, there's another job over here. You need to meet this person. And they've been very impactful, especially in the nonprofit sector.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was very informative. And I'm sure a lot of Bellarmine students might want to consider the early entry MBA program now. And I'm sure you would be open to talk to anyone who might be interested. So I might attach your contact data. But thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed